I'm just going to pick Minneapolis as a starting point. Feel free to change this and go back because you can always pinpoint it, but I want to show you some of the capabilities that are on the map and how we do this. So we can always go back through this as well. So what are we looking for? Our goal, especially with wholesaling, all I did was look for vacant properties. That's how I did hundreds of deals. We have a list of vacant properties, but I want to clarify this vacant property list right here. So we get this list. It's the only list we get every 30 days. Every other lead type gets updated Monday through Friday. This particular list comes from the post office. So what the post office says is that after about 90 days of trying to deliver mail to a property and they don't pick it up, they deem the property vacant and stop delivering mail there. That doesn't mean that you can't go drive neighborhoods and spot out a vacant property that's been vacant for 2 weeks. Maybe a landlord kicked the tenant out, it's vacant. We don't necessarily flag it as vacant because it hasn't gone 90 days and it's not been reported by the post office, but the property is still vacant. Or think about this. What if the neighbor picks up the mail for the property? That wouldn't be considered vacant from REIPro, but you saw it. It is vacant. Although we could pick up a lot of properties, vacant properties through REIPro, you still need to be out in the neighborhoods because there's a lot of scenarios where the post office is delivering mail and it's not deemed vacant by them. So here's the catch. I said they stopped delivering mail here. So if we try to send something just to vacant properties, guess what's going to happen? It's going to get returned. Also click absentee owners, and this is what we call stacking the list. So the properties that are absentee owner, meaning that the owner owns the property here, but they receive their tax bill at a different location. So most likely the mail is getting forwarded to a different location. And that's going to help us. So when we send mailers, we're going to send it to the tax bill address instead of the vacant property address. When you stack lists together, that total number will get smaller and smaller because the property has to meet both criterias. County does not talk to the post office. The post office doesn't talk to the county. So they don't communicate. They don't care. They're two different businesses, but we have to take the data in and say, okay, we have to, how do we do this? Now that I've identified a location, I'm going to select absentee owner plus vacant, and then I'm going to click search. Now, as you can see, we're kind of restricted within the Minneapolis kind of boundary line, but I'm going to show you how to venture out from here. You can also come up to the search box and start putting multiple areas in. Maybe if you think about it, maybe you target specific towns within this area. Maybe you target specific zip codes within this area. You can add multiple locations here. I'm just using Minneapolis as the example because I still know that there's a lot of properties around, in the outskirts of this boundary line where you can see in black, that's going to meet the criteria that we're looking for. Okay, what do we do with this list now? The first thing we want to do is go to our filters button. And you can see the lead type. We've selected absentee vacant. Then we get down to the property types. Now, these are what we call the 6 most common property types. I'm going to have you stick with single family only right now. Just an FYI, we have every property that's recorded in the US. We just categorize it in these 6 different, because those are the big ones. But if you go down to this search box, like let's say that you were looking for, you can see like there's so many different types of other things here, like a veterinarian hospital. You could pull up whatever's recorded is going to be there. So don't need it right now, but just wanted to let you know that. Now, when I come down to the property values, the first thing I want you to go to is potential equity percentage. Now, when we wholesale properties, it's going to have equity because we have to get it at a wholesale price. Sometimes they'll need some work and then we need some profit. You can't wholesale a house that has, a mortgage on it and it's worth what the mortgage is. You can't wholesale that that could be a potential lease option, but that's where we have to change the strategy.
Gotcha.
So
And that's just because the cash offer you could give them they wouldn't be profitable and
there would be
wouldn't
no
even cover the
profit.
mortgage, right? Right.
That's
Okay.
the Now, don't get me wrong, some investors, they kind of plan for the future, like, hey, I'll pay it just to own it. And in the future, I will make money with it. You think about, we want to find a property where owner is motivated, they're going through some situation, the property is vacant. Why is it vacant? They have to be paying taxes on it. If there's a mortgage, they have to be paying a mortgage. There's upkeep to the property. Somebody could vandalize the property. Somebody could get hurt on the property. You would think that the owner, they're losing money, right?
Yeah.
Some people can't afford to fix up the property, so it kind of sits there. Those are the opportunities that we're really looking for. Those are going to make the best wholesale opportunities, period. As you can see, I skipped over price for estimated value. I want to go through the filters first, and then I sometimes will go back to the estimated value just to kind of fine tune that number. Here at the bottom, you can see so far we have 417 leads that qualify under the filters we've selected already. I want you to exclude HELOCs and exclude any kind of reverse mortgage. Home equity lines of credit that people can take out. The problem with that is those terms are never disclosed. So, as an example, I have a home here. I can also apply for a home equity line of credit. I have a $500,000 line of credit. And let's say that I want to put some work into my property. I could pull money off of my home equity line of credit and start repairing a property. And then eventually, obviously, I have to pay it back. There's terms on that, there's interest on that, but then pay it back. The problem is we never know if they're using that or not at that time. It's hard for us to understand, is there actually equity in the property? If I have a $500,000 house, but I owe 250,000, I have 50% equity. But if I pulled 100 grand off my HELOC here, now I owe 350 on a $500,000 house. So I don't have that 50% margin anymore.
Right. Okay.
And that can't be tracked. That's only the owner in that bank know that it's being used or not. That's not something that gets recorded. What does get recorded, if there was a HELOC pulled, we'll see what that value is. We just don't know if they've actually pulled money from it or not. That's the downside. So
Okay.
let's just eliminate those properties so there's no doubt. As we get down to what we call the property attributes, the bedrooms, the baths, the size of the property, things of that nature, I like to leave this as is. Some investors, they go, hey, only buy 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. Some investors say, hey, I prefer to buy properties over, 1,200 square feet. I don't want you to care about that, because I've always was told, if the numbers make sense on the deal, it's a deal. I don't care if it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, if it's 900 square feet, someone's going to buy it if we can buy it at a good deal. And keep in mind that these are potential motivated sellers that, they need to cash out. It's a burden on their hands. It's a liability. I don't get too particular on this, especially wholesaling. If I were a rehabber and all I do is buy houses, fix them up and resell them, I would be more pickier, because I know I love to sell to families and kind of a bedroom community. It's kind of that middle price range. Then you have other investors that say, well, I do high end stuff, and then you have investors that are in the war zones and they buy them as cheap as possible and rent them out for as much as possible. Right. So you have a
Right.
mixture of investors in this area. I don't really care who you sell it to personally. The whole point is you finding the deal and selling it, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
I don't get real picky on that stuff like some people do. I want to try to leave myself as many opportunities as possible. I'm going to go back and change a couple things, but I want you to just kind of see the bare bone filters that I like to do. We
Okay.
get down to the bottom, which is the owners. Okay. I want you to click individual owned versus company owned. There are going to be companies that own properties in this area. And here's why. If you send a postcard, a letter to a company, do you really think it's going to get in the hands of the person that's going to make a decision on if they're selling it or not? There are like husband and wife LLC companies out there that there's just two people. I'd really much rather deal with a non-investor, just a normal person owned property. And then to the right, it says, okay, do you just get everybody, or do they live in the state of Minnesota, or do they live out of the state of Minnesota? So a lot of people say, hey, if somebody that's an absentee owner has a vacant property in Minnesota, but they live in California, they may be more motivated to sell because of that distance. They don't want to worry about it. I'm just here to tell you, if you're in divorce and you need to sell, it doesn't matter if you live down the street or if you live in California, you still need to sell it. It's the motivation there that we're looking for, not where per se they live. So I just leave that at all. Those basic
Gotcha.
filters put us at 168 leads, which is a good number to market. So I'm going to hit apply filters because I want you to see some other stuff on here. One thing you can do is, okay, I know that there's probably a couple of war zone bad areas somewhere in this mix. What you could do is go back to the filters and go to the estimated value, and you could say, okay, well, show me 100,000 and up. So that's going to eliminate anything under 100 grand, which generally is probably a bad area anyways, right?
Right. Totally.
But I'm not going to set a max on this because I also like to work with the high end properties that are vacant. Okay. And I don't want you to think that, oh my gosh, Chris, it's worth 500,000. Like, I don't even want you to think of price. When I
Gotcha.
got started, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't work with a $300,000 property. That's too expensive. Right. Like, I thought that would be hard. Right. No.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Think about this. People that have problems, let's say divorce, since I already said divorce, somebody going through a divorce in a $200,000 house feels the same as if you're going through divorce in $1 million house. Okay.
Totally.
So I don't care. The fact is they're in divorce. They need to sell. They're motivated. Let's go see if we have a deal.
Right.
That's how I want you to look at it. Don't let that fear come in. Because I was talking with a student. He's, oh no, we can't do those high end. I'm like, oh no, yeah, we are. Oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
are. You
Those
need
are
to get
probably a little more profitable, huh? The-
100%. The
Right.
more expensive properties, you have bigger opportunity to make more money. Obviously everything comes down to the motivation and, I mean, yeah, we've had sellers, they just walk away from properties. Like, thank you for taking it. Generally, yes, you're going to have more of an opportunity. Now, it does bring in a different buyer, right? Because of the price, but that's okay. Remember what I said, if we get a good deal, someone's going to buy it. So let me show you a couple cool things on the map. A lot of people don't know this. We went through our filters. That's the criteria that we're looking for. We are within the Minneapolis boundary line. If I come up here where this little says search by map and I check that box, whatever my map view is going to find properties that meet that criteria that I've already established. Okay, so it
Right.
doesn't matter where I move that map. As we get to the outskirts, of course, there wouldn't be as many, right?
Totally.
But I still like these little areas out here because investors generally don't go out there. And like I said, 10 grand on 100,000 is still 10 grand, on a 300, still 10 grand, right? This gives you an opportunity to, if you zoom in just a little bit more, it'll allow you to draw. This is where you can kind of cherry pick properties. Like I click the draw and I say, I want all of those properties in that bunch. And then I click the draw and say, also want all of those properties. You can get down to the street level and cut out blocks if you wanted to. Okay. And you could
Gotcha.
do this up to 8 times. So that's one really cool feature that I like. Obviously St. Paul's going to have a ton of stuff too, right? We're just kind of picking one
Oh yeah.
area. And you're going to see like we're at 167. Like that's where we kind of ended up just within Minneapolis. But if I open this map up, there's a lot.
Wow, yeah,
You know what I mean? So you have a lot to work with in front of you, just even using this, and we didn't even
right.
get in the car yet. So this is this is where you may have to separate some campaigns because if I took all these properties, there's 347 just in this one map view. If I, move it here, it's going to give me 404. There's a lot of properties going on here. And that's why I
Totally.
think it would be good for you to maybe pick some zip codes, and maybe target that way. Obviously, you could take county level, and that would kind of encompass a much bigger view for you. Yeah, what's the county that encompasses this area?
There's probably a few. Ramsey County and then probably Hennepin County are the two main ones.
How do you spell what is it?
Hennep
H-E-N?
Yep. HENNIPEN.
There it is.
Yep.
So let's pull this county first. I'm going to do the same thing, absentee owner. I'll do it a little bit quick. Hit search. Okay, so that's kind of this side. I'm going to do this fast. Don't worry about it. We're going to go 50%, minimum 100. We're going to exclude that. We're going to go to individual own. So we have 234. That kind of gives you a big county look at this. And then what was the other? Ramsey?
Ramsey. Yep. So RAMSEY.
If I include Ramsey with those filters, 329. Now you see we're still missing kind of this northern section here, but this is also another way for you to do it. If you had 10,000, we would have to go to the filters and really work on the estimated value to just get that number smaller because you're not sending 10,000 out. Number one, just for cost. And number two, you may not be able to handle the business. And, you get 30 people calling you, it's going to get confusing real quick.
Yeah,
I
totally.
mean, it's a good problem, right? It's a good problem, but
Yeah.
the cost of doing that because I want to start with this postcard. We may end up tweaking some things if we're not really getting any action from it, no calls and stuff like that. I want to, play around with a few things because, I wish there was one solid thing we sent out that everybody calls, but, marketing doesn't work that way. So yeah, go in and do kind of this multiple county area. That puts you at a good number, 329 right there. And if you even wanted to go in and do some more, you could. This will kind of hit that big city area, right? There could be times in the future, maybe you start targeting some of these, smaller kind of communities that are out here that also meet that criteria. Maybe you want to do an extra one, say, hey, let's kind of do the outskirts, the rural kind of areas. Let's see what's out there and use the same filters and maybe kind of create a separate campaign to get it out. O- Obviously, the more you can put out, the more likely you're going to run into somebody at that moment of time that is going through a situation. Because if you think about it, that's the unknown. Yesterday, I received your postcard, but I wasn't in divorce, but today I am. Right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
sending it yesterday didn't matter because I wasn't in, I threw it away. But
Right.
today matters. So we never know when that timing is going to be. And I think that's, we just put a blog out today about marketing. One important thing, as you know, is being consistent. So many people, what they do, sad to say, is they'll send out 50 postcards and they sit back for a couple weeks and they wait and they don't send anything. Like you have to continually be on schedule with stuff.
Is there a follow up for when you send those out? Do you go back and
You
spend a little
can,
while and
and I'll
send them
show
again
you.
or
Yeah, I'll show
okay.
you. Let me show you a cool trick. It's a shortcut for you because, like I said, let's assume for a second we do well, let's start with these two counties as an example. I can go, let me get out of the filter because I want to show you where this is. If I click that filter, this called this little switcher here, it says show new records only. Once
Okay.
I apply that, it's still the same number today. But if I move this list of properties over into a marketing campaign and I come in next month, it's only going to show me what's new because you're working these over here. We don't want to show you these here anymore because you're already marketing them. So
Gotcha.
next month may not be 329 because today, kind of the first time you're hitting it at the beginning is
Right.
you're taking these and then, okay, what comes through the county and the post office over the next 30 days may only be 50. So next month you may only be sending 50 because that's what's new. Then what you were talking about is, hey, but these still are potential opportunities. Maybe we can remarket those properties as well, which you can do, yes. Now, once I do
Cool.
that, I want to save this search. So I'm going to go save search. You call this whatever you want, county vacant absentee, whatever you want to call this so you know. So when I hit save, check this out. I'm going to go back, say 30 days goes on and you're ready to do your mailing. You come down here, this search is already saved for you. So you don't have to go back through all the filters and blah, blah, blah. You just hit run search. Now, because I haven't moved anything, guess what? It's going to show 329. But now I want to build a campaign. So I'm going to take this list. I'm going to go up to my actions. I'm going to select all 329. You could select so many per page, a certain number of these you could select. And also, if you have a postcard budget, like say, Chris, I have $200. If you type in 200, we'll tell you exactly how many leads you can pull for that money. Select all 329 and then come down to the action step 2. We're going to add to a marketing campaign. So I want to take these leads to a marketing campaign, put them all together. So I'm going to go up and here's what I want you to do. We're in the month of April. So this is your April vacant list. Okay. Next month will be your May vacant, June vacant, and so on.
Gotcha.
The campaign type, because we're using absentee plus vacant, just keep this as general. Okay. And then go ahead. We're going to add these selected leads. Now, what we've
Gotcha.
done is we've taken this list and we've compiled them into a marketing campaign, which will be over in marketing. So now I go over to marketing. You're going to see it's this first campaign here, April vacant. So you have a couple of options. You could order postcards. You could print letters. This ListMate is a list cleaning service that we offer. We do show this in the order process of postcards, so you don't have to clean it and then order postcards. Or you could do a bulk skip trace and find their contact information and just give them a call. Okay. Hey, my name's Dan. I was calling about a house, appeared to be vacant. Just see if you'd be interested in selling it. But because there's
Right.
329, that would take you forever. We go to order postcards. It's going to take you through this process. We're going to do a single mailer for now. You could do multiple mailers like, okay, I want to send 329 today. And then 30 days, I want to send it again. You could do it that way, but I want to test this card before we start doing all that. So just one at a time. Now, this is where you're going to pick your card. So once you
Right.
select the card, hit continue. And then we need to add contact information. So this is how people that receive the card can find you. And we have 2 lines, line 1 and line 2. If you click this add contact info, I want you to put in line 1 needs to be your phone number because we
Okay.
actually print that out a little bit larger than line 2 because we know some domains are long. I want to make sure that
Right.
they fit on the card. So,
Okay.
and then when you line 2, put your website, www dot, and then once you save that, it'll always be here and you could just select it. So you could just say, oh, okay, it's that one. If you look
Nice.
over to the right, if you could see here, you're going to see the phone number and then the domain address there. If you want a return address, you could save your return address as well, and then you can select that, or you could say, I don't want it on there. Most of the time, we do want some type of return address, even if it's your home address for now. Mail is not perfect, unfortunately. There's always a return of something. Whatever we do get back, we can investigate it after the fact and say, okay, what's wrong with this? What's the problem? Why didn't the post office deliver it? Underneath that, it says regarding your property is optional, but I always like to have this. And where it shows on the postcard is under your contact says regarding your property at this address. So you think about like an absentee owner, you get a postcard and let's say they live in Chicago. Oh, I don't want to sell my Chicago house. Oh, they're talking about my home in Minneapolis. So it's always good to have that,
Absolutely. Cool.
which is always auto checked. And then at the
Okay.
bottom, if you want us to mail you a copy of this postcard so you can touch it, see it in your hand, just add your mailing address and that'll go straight to you. We do charge you for it because of the postage, but so once you do that, you're going to hit continue. All is correct. There's a checkbox. I approve the postcard front and back. Yes, that is correct. Now, this is our ListMade. So what ListMade does is we go in and verify all of the addresses and match them against the post office addresses. So we have, remember, the county level has the addresses, but that doesn't mean they always spell things correctly. So we match that up against the post office to help eliminate any kind of return mail. We
Okay.
also go in and do a national change of address. So, a lot of people that move, they go to the post office, they say, start sending my mail here. Here's my new address. So we'll go back 4 years on that. So if one of these properties, somebody moved, we'll be able to pick that up and find their new address because they don't always call the tax assessor to let them know what their new mailing address is. You need to do this for every order. And if you have a credit
Okay.
card, like you can see credit card on hand. So I'm gonna
Perfect.
actually run this for you because I want you to see what it looks like. So there was 0 duplicates. There were 15 what we call vacant undeliverable. So I don't want to make this confusing, but I think you're going to get this. So remember the vacant status flag that we said had to be, that comes from the post office, somebody not picking up mail. But we
Yep.
also said that it has to be an absentee owner where the county says, oh no, they received their tax bill at this address, which is another address. This vacant undeliverable is saying that that address, their bill address, is also vacant. So not only is the property that you're looking at is vacant, but their billing address property is also vacant. So that would be return mail. So what we're doing is we're saying we're going to take those 15 out of your list. And as you can see, the total number of leads has dropped from 329 to 302, and 12 of them have an address error. So there's only 302. So we know for sure that those 27, 15, and 12 would have gotten returned. So it does
Perfect.
it cuts back. Nothing's 100% promise, I promise you, right? But that's
Totally.
27 guaranteed to come back. That so it cost me $6 to save whatever the cost of 27 was. Okay.
Okay.
So then we're going to go down, we're going to hit continue. And then at this point, if you have a saved credit card on here, just do that. You can hit pay now. You'll go to a thank you page. We'll receive the order and then we get that process started for you. Boom. They're going out.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Awesome.